The Boeing 737 meant to fly Secretary of State Antony Blinken back to D.C. from Davos suffers a critical failure. Thankfully, the plane hadn't taken off yet when the oxygen leak was discovered. Blinken and his team were forced to deplane, and while the secretary arranged to have a smaller plane come pick him up, the rest of his team was sent home on a commercial flight. I bet they were praying that commercial flight wasn't another Boeing 737. Not only was it a Boeing 737 that had a blowout of an emergency exit door over Oregon the other week, but two 737 MAXs crashed in 2018 and 2019, killing several hundred people because of a design flaw, leading President Trump at the time to call for the entire fleet to be grounded. Much of these issues can be chalked up to the fact that Boeing has been cutting its senior engineering staff and replacing them with $9 an hour foreign tech workers, mostly from India and fresh out of college. They try and dress this up, and some of their other questionable choices to cut corners on safety is going to be more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. While airlines throw a bunch of drag shows and other pride-themed celebrations to distract away from the rot and decay of the airline industry. Or maybe Blinken's bad luck was entirely the result of a hex put on World Economic Forum attendees by that Brazilian tribal chief. Watch.
No Kamai, no Kawaka, na Hanuri, no Yuyua, na Wahon Shinava Punk and Tushina Shavawaki, Shinamu Kikirani, Tsai Shavakirani, Tsai Makikirani. Awama Wanana, Awama Wanana, no Mahono why should I?
Thank you. It's worth pointing out that as the left pushes out Judeo-Christian religious belief from the public square, it isn't being replaced by some secular cult of reason, as someone like Richard Dawkins promised us, 20 years ago. Instead, all it's done is to allow for ancient pagan and even demonic beliefs to come back into vogue. In fact, a lot of this climate agenda being talked about in Davos pulls from pagan beliefs about Gaia, the worship of Mother Earth, and the sacrifice of man. Like we always joke, mankind is the carbon that these types want to reduce. Here's none other than Al Gore talking about true net zero, and also making more predictions, which I don't know. If I were him with that kind of track record, I would lay low on the predictions for a while. Anyway, here's Gore.
Mother Nature has other intentions. Unfortunately, the climate-related extreme weather events that are underway right now, today, every day. And we're continuing to add a huge additional amount of heat-trapping pollution to the sky every single day. The good news is that once we get to true net zero and stop adding, the temperatures will stop going up almost immediately with a lag of as little as 3 years. And if we stay at true net zero, half of the human-caused greenhouse gas pollution will fall out of the atmosphere in as little as 25 to 30 years.
But at least in this sea of crazy, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase showed some common sense. Watch.
When people say MAGA, they're actually looking at people voting for Trump, and they think they're voting, and they're basically scapegoating them, that you are like him. But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. And if you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO, kind of right about immigration. Mm-hmm. He grew the economy quite well.
China virus.
Tax reform worked. Yeah. He was right about some of China. I don't like what he did.
No, I said China virus.
Yeah, I understand. He may have been right. And I don't like how he said things about Mexico. I don't like, but he wasn't wrong about some of these critical issues. And that's why they're voting for him. And I think people should be a little more respectful of our fellow citizens. And when you guys have people up here, you should always ask the why. Not like it's a binary thing. You're supporting Trump, you're not supporting Trump. Why are you supporting Trump?
It's hard to hate 75 million of your fellow Americans. And
I agree.
It's done crazy.
And, the Democrats have done a pretty good job with the deplorables, hugging onto their Bibles and their beer and their guns. I mean, really? Like, could we just stop that stuff and actually grow up and treat other people with respect and listen to them a little bit? And I do think the economy will affect. And I think this negative talk about MAGA is going to hurt Biden's election campaign.
I heard some say, perhaps half joking, that what Diamond is doing here is to free other men like himself to vote in their best interest instead of being beholden to voting the way in which their typically very liberal wives demand of them.